Captain America's shield is made of vibranium, a supposedly indestructible metal. But in Avengers Endgame, it got completely destroyed, split in half by Thanos. But how? How could an indestructible metal be destroyed? Not even Thor with Mjolnir could scratch Cap's shield, even with a super powerful blow mixed with lightning. So how could a sword do it? To even start to understand how Thanos was able to destroy it, we first need to understand how the shield works. As I mentioned, Cap's shield is made of vibranium, the strongest metal on Earth. But what exactly makes vibranium so indestructible? The name actually hints at its function. Vibranium can basically absorb vibrations. This means that the vibrations caused by any type of impact on a shield are absorbed. We can actually see this in action in Captain America Brave New World, when Red Hulk hit Sam Wilson's vibranium wings. This explains why Thor, with Mjolnir, wasn't even able to make Cap move when he attacked him in the first Avengers movie, and why he was completely thrown back. The shield not only absorbed the vibrations, but also repelled them. And this scene alone strongly suggested to us that the shield was basically indestructible. But as we saw in Endgame, that isn't the case. Vibranium does have its limits, although it's hard to know exactly them, because it was never explained to us. Fortunately, we do have some clues scattered throughout the MCU that tell us a lot about its limits. One of them being in Age of Ultron. In Age of Ultron, Ultron's body was cloaked with vibranium, but still, with the combined power of Thor, Iron Man, and the Mind Stone, they were able to start melting Ultron's body. This is proof that vibranium has its limits. But it also shows that those limits are off the charts. And this makes it seem even more nonsense that a sword was able to completely destroy the shield. But it did, and actually, when it came to Thanos' sword, Cap's shield didn't manage to absorb the impact of the various hits it suffered, and neither was it able to repel them like it did with Thor. And this is where things get interesting. The Russo brothers, the directors of the movie, said the first time Thanos went to Eitri wasn't when he went to build the Infinity Gauntlet. With this statement, they're strongly suggesting that he went to Eitri to forge him a weapon. In this case, the sword he used in Endgame. I mean, what other reason would Thanos have to go to Eitri? So this means that the material used to forge his sword was Hiru, the same material used to forge the Infinity Gauntlet, Mjolnir, and Stormbreaker. And the Russo brothers' statement definitely makes sense with the MCU timeline, because he was indeed already using the sword when he started collecting the stones, as we saw in Endgame. I know that now you might be wondering, if Mjolnir wasn't able to scratch Cap's shield, which is supposedly made of the same material as Thanos' sword, why would Thanos' sword be able to do it? I understand your concerns, but this is where you need to be attentive to the details. First off, Thanos gave many blows to the shield. It wasn't just one like Thor with Mjolnir. And second of all, Thanos' sword was very sharp, contrary to Mjolnir. Mjolnir has no sharp edges, meaning it can't pierce anything. And if the shield is resistant to strong impacts, the most Mjolnir would be able to do after several blows is dent the shield, not destroy it. And to reinforce this idea even further, Thanos wasn't the first one who managed to pierce the shield in the MCU. Even though it was on a smaller scale, in Civil War we saw Black Panther, with his vibranium claws, scratch and superficially pierce the shield. He was able to do it, not because his claws are more powerful than Mjolnir, but because they're sharp. So it's no surprise that a sharp sword made by the same material as other godly weapons completely destroyed the shield. And third, and most importantly, Thanos wasn't aiming at the center of the shield. And the reason why that makes a difference is because the center of the shield is where it's most effective. If you look carefully at every time Cap's shield was attacked and managed to repel and protect him from the attacks, it was always in the middle of the shield. And let's not forget that the one who was wielding it is one of the most powerful beings in the entire universe. That definitely makes a difference when it comes to being able to destroy such an indestructible metal like vibranium. We're talking about a guy that made Thor and Hulk look weak at a time when he only had one Infinity Stone. The reason he didn't use it in Infinity War was precisely because, as I mentioned, he already had the Power Stone. He did the same with his armor and helmet when he collected the Space Stone, which were probably also made by Eitri with the same material as the sword. He basically no longer felt the need to use it, because he now literally had in his possession a far more powerful armor. So, it's only logical to assume that he did the same thing with his sword when he got the Power Stone. But since this isn't actually 100% certain, there's another theory. And if it's true, it connects Endgame to Celestials, and even to Thanos' origin. Now that Adamantium is official canon in the MCU, it could be that Thanos' weapon is made of adamantium. And this would also make sense. The adamantium was finally introduced in Captain America Brave New World. And what we know so far is that the adamantium is being extracted from a Celestial that was supposed to be born on Earth. So this means that a lot of Celestials are made of adamantium. And Thanos definitely knew what the Celestials were. Not only because they were probably one of the reasons why he wanted to snap, but because he too might be half Celestial. Let's not forget that Eros is Thanos' brother, and Eros is an Eternal. As we know, in the MCU, the Eternals are synthetic beings created by Celestials. Not to mention that in the comics, Thanos is actually a hybrid of Eternals and Deviants. So Thanos is certainly connected to the Celestials in one way or another. And if for some reason, Thanos isn't connected to the Celestials, we can't forget that he was thousands of years old. He's someone who traveled across the universe. And, as he said to Tony, he was cursed with knowledge. It's hard to believe that Thanos had never heard of Celestials and what they were about by this point. So it's completely plausible that Thanos also used adamantium to build his armor and his sword. And if the most powerful beings across the universe are made of adamantium, it's safe to assume that adamantium is definitely more resistant than vibranium. Looking back, it's funny to think about how Marvel was smoothly telling us that the shield wasn't indestructible, because the actual first time we saw Cap's shield destroyed was in Age of Ultron, but in a completely different context. It happened in Tony's vision after being affected by Wanda's magic. Obviously, we all thought that it was just a dream and that there was no way this would ever happen in reality. But after Endgame, that was clearly a foreshadowing telling us back then, in a subtle way, that the shield wasn't actually indestructible as it was portrayed in the previous movies. Anyway, what do you think? Do you believe more in the first theory or in the second one? I want to know what you think about this in the comments.